Hi folks, I'm back with another banjo tutorial video, and today I want to show you a very important D lick. It sounds like this. Okay, and it goes very well in a lot of traditional songs, especially on ones where it's got a D chord or a 5 chord right in the middle of a verse or a chorus. A lot of traditional songs are such that the first half of the verse you do one thing, you end up on the D chord or the 5 chord, and then the second half of that verse you kind of do the same thing. So this is a great lick to put right in the middle of your verse or chorus, and it's one where the D chord is you are starting it on the second fret of the 3rd string. So if you're doing one of those and you walk up to it and that's where you start your D chord, it's a great place to put this lick. And here is an example real quick in a song. Let's do Gonna Settle Down. Okay, and then you start the second half of the verse right after that. So let me show you what you do here. The left hand is really simple. The left hand, you're only fretting 2 strings, and that is the 3rd string at the 2nd fret. I use my index finger, and the 4th string at the 4th fret. And I use my ring finger with that. So some people call this the split D position. Okay, same kind of one you use in ground speed. Okay. Everything else we're leaving open, which is a nice pretty chord there. But we're going to be doing some rolling over that chord. So the intricate part becomes the right hand. And the interesting thing about it is it seems like, and when you're playing it, it feels highly syncopated. But if you look at the tab to it, and I just kind of drew out a rough tab because it's a little bit more involved in some of the things I've gone over with my right hand. Everything is 8th notes. So you would think you're just playing a string of 8th notes, it wouldn't sound very syncopated. I think the issue is you're emphasizing some notes that you wouldn't normally emphasize on a melody. So it ends up sounding highly syncopated. But if you take a look at that, the first part is, I'll kind of briefly explain it here, and then I'll go back and play it really slowly so you can see my right hand at work. But you start, when you go to the D chord, you are starting with the 2nd fret of the 3rd string there with the thumb, and then you go to the 1st string, and then after that you start it's really a forward backwards roll. If you notice that, you're going except you're staying there on the 4th string. So you're going the 4th string, the 3rd string, the 1st string, back to the 4th. That's the forward part. And then the backward part, you're going, where are we at? We're over here. Okay, the backwards part. You're going 1st string, 3rd string, 4th string. Okay, and then to finish up, you go to the 1st string, the 3rd string, back to the 1st. You're kind of bebopping around a little bit. That's where the syncopation feel comes from. But the important thing to kind of realize is after you start, you're doing a forward backwards roll, and that'll get you halfway through the lick. All right, so if you need to, you can go back and pause there if you want to see the tab again, or go back to it. So it's really hard to play slow. I've noticed as I do these videos is the slower you play them, it's really easy to lose the feel of it. So let me play it kind of halfway up to speed, and then I'll try to slow it down. And once again, we're not doing anything with the left hand right now except holding that position. So I'm going to try to focus on the right hand here where you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. But here it is, halfway up to speed. Okay, that's tough to get. You're not going, probably if you've never tried to play this, you're not going to get it in a day or two. It's more like to get the feel of it. It takes a couple of months to really kind of get the feel behind it. And it did for me anyway. So once again, it starts with the thumb on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. And you go to the 1st string open, and you go to the 4th string with your thumb, and you start the forward backward roll. So. That's probably about as slow as I can do and not mess up. So let me try that again. that's good enough for you able to get that. Also going back and looking at the tab if you really need to on that. But the feeling, you play it really slow and you don't emphasize any of the notes, it can sound a little bit robotic, but you're trying to get the syncopation in, which is more of the, okay, and I'll let you be the judge of that. Go back and listen with your ears to some of these songs that's got it in it. Once you recognize it, you will hear it in many, many songs. Okay, see if I can play a couple more here and also show you some different ways to get out of it. Okay, this one takes it all the way through and then it just kind of ends and then it goes back to the third string open. There's some other things you can do here towards the end, just some other familiar pickup notes. I want to give you a couple of examples and maybe where you can find those. So we did Gonna Settle Down, which is pretty much that lick I just played verbatim. And then there's some other ones. The Old Home Place has got it in the middle, except you go about 3/4 of the way through, and then he changes to some pickup notes there instead of these to get back to the third string open. So let's see if I can do that. Okay, so it's half. You do about 1.5. 75% of the lick. You go to the fourth string open and you're kind of doing the wind up. It's probably a familiar kickoff notes to end up getting to the third string open. So try that again. So there is one way to kind of vary how to get out of that lick. Let me do one more for you, and I can't remember which song this has this in. It might be Take Me in Your Lifeboat, maybe, or it might be Talk It All Over with Him. It's one of those two. Let's try it. And it goes like this. So it's got the familiar in it. So and once again, you're just finding ways to land on that third string open when you go back to the G. So the one that I showed you at the beginning is probably the entire lick, as most people are familiar with all the way through, but you've got a little bit of leeway here on how to finish this thing up. Okay, so just think about other pickup notes that you guys know to end up getting to the third string open, and you can probably fit that in instead. You kind of stop that lick and go to a different set of pickup notes to get to the third string open. All right, hopefully that makes some sense to you. But once you get it in your fingers, like I said, it's probably not something you're going to get like that. It's going to take a month or two to get smooth at it. I was able to get it pretty well after a month or two, and then I'd go try and play it at a jam session or try to play it on stage, and it just wasn't happening. So it definitely needs to be muscle memory there with your brain and your fingers, and it should become automatic, but it doesn't happen overnight. So let me know how that goes, and we'll see you next time for maybe some variations.